Hello, everybody, and welcome to This Week in Astrology with your friend Gretchen Heidel, full-time astrologer, life coach, Reiki master, and so much more. And I'm here tonight live on Facebook and also co-recording so that I can post on YouTube as well. So welcome, welcome. It is our Monday night date, and oh my goodness, it's already almost the end of May, May 22nd, 2023. And so if you are just joining, I'm going to try to adjust my light here for a second. Hopefully I can do that. Welcome. I feel like I'm dim for some reason on Facebook, but go ahead and post below your astrological sign, where you're tuning in from, city and state, and or country. We have an international audience here, so welcome everybody. Woo! Last week was a lot. I don't know if you guys, yeah, it was a lot. So for people who are already established viewers and that you've been watching me for a while, last week was kind of crazy. And if you're new here, welcome. Veronica, hello. she posted below. Yeah, we had a lot going on last week. So I'm just going to actually recap last week just for a quick second. And then I'm going to talk about this week in astrology. We have a lot going on. Jupiter on the move, Mars on the move. There's all kinds of astrological things happening. And I'm going to be talking about all that. We are also in Gemini season. Hey, and all the Geminis out there, welcome. Post below if this is your birthday time, if we're getting into the Cancer season. Yeah, I don't know why it's looking a little dim there. I can't, let me see if I can change where my light is. Last time my light actually went out, so let me see if I can change that a little bit and see if this helps at all. I don't think it helps very much, but I don't know. We'll see. I probably need to get a different type of light. I think it's because the nighttime it's getting darker later now. Danielle said last week was nuts. Hey Terry, Aquarius in New York, welcome. Wendy, you're having trouble playing the video. Oh no. Gosh, and we are out of Mercury retrograde, though we are still in the post shadow period. So you know, Mercury retrograde still kind of getting its last digs in, I think. Almir, hello, welcome. Taurus sun, Sagittarius and Cancer placements. Facebook is saying, sorry, we're having trouble playing this video. Really, Veronica, a bunch of people, Wendy, are commenting that they can see the video. So I don't know. Veronica said, Taurus, yay, welcome. All right. So we have a lot to even cover, but very first, I'm just going to do a very quick recap. Andrea said, yes, the shadow period has been more than Mercury retrograde so far. Yeah, sometimes that happens for real. Val, hello, Val. Thanks for the update. Hubby is a Gemini. Yes. Wendy's, I think you fixed it on your end. That's great. I'm going to move my light back here because I still feel like as if I need light on this side. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, basically what's happening, and I'm not one of those fancy people where I have a whole big studio set up. I just have like kind of a makeshift kind of thing, but you know, we'll see if it's in the budget. Once I get monetized on YouTube with the 1,000 subscribers, we'll be getting a light. But last week was crazy. So I'll just give you a quick recap on May 14th. Mercury did go direct, but like I said, it's still in its shadowness. That's the official term, shadowy shadowness. Mercury is still doing its thing. We had Jupiter move into the astrological sign of Taurus, which that is a big deal. And that's going on for a full year, all the way until next May, that it's going to be in Taurus. And then we had Jupiter forming a square with Pluto, and that took place. Then we had the new moon on Friday, and on Saturday we had a bunch, and Sunday we had a bunch of astrological stuff. Now, that bunch of stuff is to be continued, okay? Because basically what's happening is we have leftover and we have carryover. So I had talked to you guys last week about how there is a T-square going on between Mars, Jupiter, and Pluto. So it's kind of a lot. So Jupiter is square Pluto, and that happened last the peak of it happened on Wednesday. I want to be careful of my language here because I say it happened almost like it's past. Not past. It's just the peak of it. We went over the top of the mountain, okay? Last Wednesday on the 17th. Jupiter, though, current time is still square Pluto. So we have to kind of be careful of that. Then actually we had Mars opposing Pluto, and that happened on Saturday the 20th, and like I said, happened rear view mirror, not so much. And then tomorrow on Tuesday, on May 23rd, we have Mars forming a square with Jupiter. This is like all of these planets are not getting along. You heard me say square, you heard me say opposition. Squares and oppositions in astrology are very difficult, okay? And so that's basically what's happening is we have a lot of squares, a lot of oppositions, a lot of things going on where they're not getting along, and it's kind of misleading language because we call it a square in astrology, but really what it looks like is a triangle. And at the peak of the triangle is Jupiter, and then we have these two, Mars and Pluto over here on each side, and that's basically called a T-square. And a T-square in astrology means it's all kind of jammed up, okay? They're all like not really getting along. And I don't really want Mars and Pluto hanging out, and I definitely don't want both of them highlighting Jupiter, which makes Mars and Pluto bigger. So that's kind of not a good little triangle T-square thing to have, and they're very contentious. So the peak of this for the Mars square Pluto thing, Mars is in Leo and Jupiter is in Taurus. They're all happening in fixed signs. And that's going to come to a peak or height or a pinnacle overnight tonight at 1:13 a.m. Eastern time. So it'll actually technically happen on tonight, you know, if you're on Pacific Standard Time, so, or daylight time. So it's not, these are rough. These are a little bit rough. And I did a little quick search in my handy dandy astrology software, and this is going to be active. This fixed T-square in fixed signs, Taurus, Leo, and Aquarius, is going to be happening until June 7th. Okay, so this is not going away anytime quickly. I mean, they've been in some sort of crammed up situation all this month, and it's going to continue on. But we are in the peak or the heart of the bubble right now. We are in the crunch time. And so last week and this week, astrologically speaking, it is going to be, it's heavy duty, and it's like a lot of contention. Now, the interesting thing is I talked a lot about finances last week, and I'm going to continue with that with this Jupiter square Pluto thing, because Jupiter and Pluto, whenever they get together, they can really cause a lot of financial stuff. Now, this isn't all bad news. In fact, it could be that my little bear, my little pug, some of you know, you've been sending him Reiki. My pug had a dental, and he's been recovering, but he's very clingy mama's boy right now because he's been hurting a little bit. So if anybody would love to give Bear the pug any kind of Reiki or good energy healing, please, please feel free to do so, because he's a good little character. But anyway, these are all crammed up. And so basically what the deal is, they can be actually helpful possibly when we look at finances and when we look at financial things. But because they're square each other, like if this was a trine or a conjunction or something like that, yeah, exactly, Wendy, debt ceiling, 2 words, debt ceiling, that's what this whole thing is. And I almost feel like what's going on politically is there's like a, what do they call that? Like a chicken race or something, or we're playing chicken with each other, where the politicians are sort of like, you know, I feel like what's going to end up happening is it's going to actually get resolved in the very last minute second. Like if the deadline's midnight, it's going to be like 11:59 p.m. But I hate this. You know, I can't stand this energy of this politicians doing this to the American public. But, you know, everybody's fighting with each other, and, you know, it's all crammed up. And so that's what T-squares are like. They're all crammed up together. And it's not fun, you know, I mean, it's not a fun sort of scenario. And I told you guys the way out of this is actually through Scorpio. I do think it's interesting that Biden has like 1 million planets in Scorpio. So I don't know if he's exactly the way out of this, but I think it's interesting when I had said that last week, and I didn't put two and two together until I was like thinking about it later. But yeah, so the way out of this, the missing link, the missing planet, and the missing sign in the fixed, because there's 4 fixed signs. So I just talked to you about Leo and Aquarius and Taurus. Well, the missing one is actually Scorpio, and they say that's the way out of T-squares, is to look at what's missing, and that's the way out of it. So when you think of Scorpio, you know, we think of looking beneath the surface and digging within and looking at the deeper, sort of factors going on. And there might be a lot of secret behind the scenes stuff happening right now in the world of politics. But even in our own personal lives, when there's these big sort of energies that are going on in the backdrop like they are right now, even if they're not affecting you personally, we will still feel them. I mean, Mars and Pluto and Jupiter are all doing this in each and every one of us' personalized astrological chart. It just depends if they're really aspecting something. Now, I'm going to give you guys a cheat sheet. Even if you don't know personally what your chart looks like, if you were born in the very, very beginning of either of all 3 of those signs, so the very beginning of Taurus, like around April 20th or so, or the very, very beginning of Leo, which is like around July 20th, 21st, something like that, or the very, very beginning of Aquarius, same thing around January 20th, 21st, something like that. If you're in any of those 3, you're in the heart of this. This is affecting you. This would at least be hitting your sun sign and probably more. But it doesn't matter because it's affecting all of us. Some of it's affecting in a more abstract, sort of behind the scenes way, and others were like right in the heart of it and whatever. So it's a lot of energy going on right now. So again, the peak or the height of that is going to be the Mars square Jupiter aspect tomorrow. Now that's an increase in violence, an increase of anger, increase of frustration. Mars tends to be a fighting kind of sign. If you think about how these signs are very contentious, Mars is definitely, Chris said, hitting your wallet hard. Yeah, a lot of people have been talking about financial stuff recently within even my private sessions. By the way, if you would like to have a personalized private session, feel free to send me a text message or send me a direct message through Facebook or something. But yeah, I do personalized astrological sessions, and a lot of sessions are around money. But it can be... Here's the thing, a lot of people right now are jammed up with money, but then also it can produce some money. So for some people, I have clients that are getting big money, but then I have clients that are dried up in their money. It's very interesting. Like there's like a big polarization right now with finances. And everybody, like I said, it'll affect everybody differently. Hopefully you're on the good side of this and you're getting incoming good money, because Jupiter and Pluto together, even though they're negatively aspected, they can produce money, but it just means that the money is hard to come by, or there's some caveat with it, or some hold up with it, or some kind of thing where we have to work extra hard, or there's a lot of like conditions and terms and all sorts of things. I told you guys last week how Elon Musk bought Twitter during a Jupiter-Pluto connection in his personal chart, and it did not go well for him. So it's something that, but it's like kind of one of those things, it can either make or break you. Like I think all Pluto transits are like that. Like that saying of like, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. That's a very Pluto motto, like it's like kind of something that is going to be very extreme. And even Jupiter can be very extreme, just because Jupiter makes everything bigger. So, I mean, think about it. If Jupiter is highlighting the planet that is the planet of extremes, which is Pluto, and then Jupiter makes everything bigger, now we're talking about really big extremes. So it's like it kind of enhances it. Yeah, Wendy said Social Security is scary. Yeah, exactly. So there's been a little bit of a holdup here. And also the United States is in its Pluto return still. Yes, for 2 years now. Pluto, United States has been, and I told you guys when you guys watched that broadcast, and if you want to check it out, on Facebook, on YouTube, there is a link to the post video that I had done about that. Danielle said, all this is so spot on. Emily said, oh, your insurance claims keep getting denied. Oh, no. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it is going to be a big check when they finally pay you, but it keeps, there's like a hold up. And so I'm seeing that right now where everything's sort of crunched up. And so the way through this is Scorpio. We got to look through Scorpio's lens, which is deep psychological processes, looking beneath the surface, digging beneath the depths, all the different things with Scorpionic. And even if you think of Scorpio, Scorpio is everything to do with like wills, trust funds, life insurance policies, different sort of insurance policies, different things like that, is very Scorpionic as well. So it'll be interesting. I mean, it's going to be a little nail biting for sure, but we can take it. We're strong people. Okay, so I want to talk about how over the weekend, because last week was so busy astrologically that I couldn't really go in depth with some of these things. So we had two big planets that were on the move. And so on Saturday, Mars entered the sign of Leo. So Mars in Cancer is over. Okay, so we're starting a new Mars in Leo cycle. Mars is going to be in Leo all the way until July 10th. So that's a long time. You know, most Mars cycles are about a month and a half-ish or so, give or take a little bit. And so Mars is now on the move. Okay, and so it's getting out of the Cancerian, the feelings, the emotions, home and family, and that's what it was in the last month and a half. Mars in Cancer, which was remember I told you Mars in Cancer is a little passive aggressive and Mars in Cancer doesn't flow very easily because Mars is very more direct. And if you think of Cancer, the crab is like, let's go over here and let's go over here and let's beat around the bush, be a little passive aggressive or be extra sensitive. So thankfully that is ending, Mars in Cancer, because Mars is not entirely comfortable in Cancer. It's considered to be like a sign where Mars doesn't do as well. Mars in Leo is a lot more comfortable, okay? Because Mars is aggression and Mars likes to exert itself. Now, it's not just aggression. You know, I always talk about Mars as the god of war. For sure, we can't get around that. Mars is the god of war, but Mars is also our passion. Mars is our motivation, our drive, and our ambition, and our physical vitality. Again, it's not quite as good in the sign of Cancer, but it's a little bit better into Leo. And so Mars in Leo is a little bit more comfortable because if you think about it, Mars is the natural ruler of Aries, and Aries and Leo are BFFs. So that's a very more comfortable fire sign. Mars can express itself in its very bold, sort of way. And Mars likes that. So it's more comfortable in Leo. The only thing is Leo can roar like a lion. I mean, that's the lion. Instead of the crab, it's the lion. So crabs kind of sneak up on you and they pinch your toes, where a lion's just going to get in your face and, kind of be. So we have to watch that. Mars and Leo can be about kind of raising voices and being very bold. But remember that it's our passion. If we need a little bit more, I talked about vitality. If we need a little bit more like a pick me up kind of thing, this is going to be great for that. This is going to be much more, have much more vitality and much more energy. Mars in Cancer, I don't know about you guys, but Mars in Cancer, I have noticed, because I'm an astrologer and I watch these cycles even in my own chart. And I notice when Mars is in Cancer, I tend to not feel as good. It is in a weird place in my chart, so that could also have something to do with it. But Mars in Leo can be have much more vitality. Now, Leo is the heart, cardiovascular system, and the spinal cord. So those are two big things. And Leos often have to sort of watch their hearts, cholesterol, exercise. And this is a good time for that. This is a good time for exercise. And especially Leo, is very, very, very entrepreneurial. So when you're talking about business, when you're talking about being the head of, the leader of, in charge of entertainment, getting out there, being confident, being bodacious, you know, all that kind of stuff is very Leo-esque. And so if you have to perform, if you have to give a sales pitch, if you have to put yourself out in the public, even if you are normally shy, could be great for you because it's a time to exert yourself and like, here I am, you know, I'm ready to shine. A lot of big, passionate people that are performers, entertainers, and leaders are Leos. And so Mars and Leo, remember Mars is ambition, drive, motivation. I always say if you think of a car, the engine of the car or the gas pedal of the car is Mars. It's like, it gives us our go. And so it's go time in Leo for sure. I love Mars and Leo. I think Mars and Leo is like, again, much more of a better sort of fit. It's just that if you have any kind of like ailments in those areas or of a weakness like spinal cord and again, heart issues, that can be maybe not as good. But Mars in Leo is also from the heart. You know, I mean, a lot of Leos I know are very, very generous people. They can be very giving, very generous, very warm. And so that can be very good when we look at Mars in Leo. It's just that Leo likes attention. Leo likes to have, oh, good job. Thank you so much. It's like that praise and adoration and applause. That's a very Leo thing. So, I mean, you know, whatever. It's a little bit, but it can be something that that can be good for us and be, if you think about yourself as warm-hearted, kind-hearted, generous, and all those things, that can be Leo. When Leo is at its best, Leo can be very kind and warm-hearted and generous, like I said, and you know, I don't know, just like they can just be very warm, caring people. I think about Leo in that way. If you think of how lions live, it's called a pride, you know, a family of lions, a group of lions is called a pride. And so if you think of proud Leo, you know, it's pride, you know, and it's also taking care of your own. Leo is a little bit, you know, if you think of nepotism, that can be a very Leo thing. Like, it's like, you know, insular and its own little thing. But, you know, I think most of the time Leo can be very generous, like I said. It's just that Leo can also be egotistical because the ruler of Leo is actually the sun. And everything revolves around the sun, right? So again, it can be Leos love to have that adoration, that applause, the award, you know, oh, you're just so special and wonderful. Leos love to hear that. So if you have a spouse that's a Leo, always tell them that they're special and wonderful because that's the way to their heart, you know, and Leo is connected to the heart. So, you know, I always say it's kind of like the price of admission. Like if you're going to play with a Leo and have a Leo in your life, you have to just give them an attaboy or attagirl on their back, you know, because it is a thing. Chavez said, ha ha ha, I am a Leo. Well, I have Leo rising too, so I get it. I get it. You know, it's, I'm not throwing stones at glass houses here. I totally get the energy, but it's also Leo's lions can be quite fierce. And especially when they're protecting one of their own, ooh, they can be very fierce. So again, it's better to have the Leo on your side, I would just say. So here's the other thing. Mars, again, is the god of war. Okay. So Mars, again, our ambition, our drive, our motivation, what gets us up in the morning, what gets our feet on the ground, what puts us into action, that's Mars. And so we also have Pallas Athena that went into Leo. If you guys remember that broadcast on May 3rd of 2023. And Pallas Athena is an asteroid, but she's the goddess of war. So if you think of Mars as the god of war, Pallas Athena is the feminine sort of energy around war. Mars is action, like kind of brute force action, where the feminine side of war is more of like the chess player. She's more the strategist. She's more like, let's go over, let's attack from the behind, from the gate, you know. She's more about that. So we have Mr. and Mrs. Mars kind of in Leo, and that's very powerful energy. So Pallas Athena is going to be in Leo from May 3rd all the way until July 11th. And then Mars is going to be in Leo from May 20th all the way to July 10th. So almost the same amount of time, these two are kind of traveling very close together right now. And that's not always the case. So this is sort of different and special and, interesting. And so we have a lot of drive, a lot of ambition, a lot of our chutzpah in the Leo department. And so it's something that we have to just keep in mind, that people are a little bit more egotistical and, kind of beating their chest and what about me and how about me and I'm super special. There's a little bit of a need for that, but there's also the need to lead, to perform, to entertain, and to be out there in public. And so you can use this energy to your advantage if you need to be out there in the public in some way, or to give a presentation at your office, or to speak your mind, or to, any kind of thing like that. This can be super awesome for that. So, I love to show you my stones and my crystals and just different things that would be really good for Leo. If you remember, is the heart of August. The heart of the summer is like around July 21st to August 21st, roughly every year is Leo. And so you want to think about the color of orange is associated with Leo. And so I love Aragonite. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correct. But this is a beautiful stone if you want to get your sacral chakra or even your heart chakra. This can be Aragonite. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correct. I'm sorry. But that's basically, it's hard to see on the camera. It's kind of muting it a little bit, but it's actually like a very pretty orangey, and it almost has even like just a little tinge of pink, but this stone is quite fantastic if you need that little chutzpah, that little drive, that little ambition. And another stone that I love for Leo, and this is called Healer's Gold. And again, on the camera, it doesn't even do it justice. It looks like a dark colored stone with gold all throughout it, Healer's Gold. And so that is a great stone, especially if you're looking to heal something like your heart. A couple people, Rita said she had heart issues today. Oh no. Wendy said your mom had heart issues 3 days ago. So yeah, so if you want to do some healing, Healer's Gold is a really wonderful one. Back when I used to have my office and I did Reiki in person, I used Healer's Gold quite a bit. So if you ever are a healer, or if you work in the healing industry, you're a doctor, you're an acupuncturist, whatever, I don't care what you do. If you're out there healing, or a therapist or whatever, Healer's Gold is a wonderful way for healing the physical body. And I feel with the gold, first of all, is wonderful for the aura. Gold is a very healing color, and it also resonates to the sacral solar plexus chakra, which is like the belly button area. So this is like the pelvis and the belly button area. So again, these are wonderful for Leo. And of course, if you have heart stuff, green and pink are wonderful colors for the heart. And so if that's been going on for you, green and pink are very good healing for the heart. And so that's the color of the heart chakra. And so, yeah. And a lot of people, I always teach this when I do my chakra workshops. I often teach chakras when I'm teaching Reiki. But if you hate a color, guess where your healing is? Guess where you need to heal is usually. When a person tends to hate a color, push a color aside, not like a color, oh God, I hate that color, I don't want that color around me, that color feels yucky. That's usually because you have work you need to do with that color, because all colors resonate with the chakras. And so it's something that, we gotta kind of keep that in mind. So if anybody hates a color out there, like, oh, just, I avoid that. I used to hate orange. That was my least favorite color. Even when as a kid, I hated orange, but orange, is the sacral chakra. It's the chakra of creativity and all that. And a lot of times people will have physical ailments that correlate with that color that they abandon, the color that they neglect, the color they push away. They tend to have physical ailments. Naomi said yellow is her color. Well, girl, that is the solar plexus chakra. That's the color of self-confidence, and it's also digestive. So a lot of people who abandon yellow or hate yellow have trouble with their own personal self-confidence, and also will have digestive issues, problems with the gallbladder, problems with stomach, problems with intestines, any kind of thing like that. So yeah, so you want to love all of your colors, and actually I have in order to love my color, oh God, Naomi said I have IBS right now. See, so you gotta love your yellow. I know that sounds very simplistic. It's more than that, but you have to, instead of abandoning the color, you have to pull that color in and integrate the color. So you want to start to even wear the color, yeah, that you hate, Wendy said. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's what I advise. In fact, in my home, on my couch, I have these big orange cushions that I bought, that, and they say love on them, and they're orange, because that was the color that I abandoned and that I left behind. Sometimes we have abandonment, or we have neglect, or we have some kind of problem with the color in reference to not only our mental sort of, like there might be trauma around that sort of, involving, because each and every color has an association of emotion with it. So it's interesting, every time I have ever done a workshop, or I've ever talked to people who said, I don't like this color, or they abandon the color, I'm always like, well, do you have this, this, and this? And they're like, oh yeah, I do. Every time. So it is what it is. Veronica said, I love all colors. The only color I don't like is gray. Gray, I mean, there's no chakra that sort of resonates, correlates with gray. As we go down to grounding, like as we get closer to the earth and closer to the feet, we get into the browns and the blacks. And so gray is certainly kind of getting down into that area. But yeah, so and even those colors are definitely something. So that's the earth, that's grounding, that's being connected, okay, to our mother earth and our planet. Jean, oh no, red. And red is one of the, I don't want to say the worst ones, because I think they're all bad when they're abandoned or neglected. But Jean said red. The reason why I say that one's kind of worse is because that's the root chakra. Root chakra is red, dark red, crimson, and into those like kind of colors. And oh my gosh, that's your grounding. So careful with that one, because that's safety and security, how you feel safe, how you feel secure. And red often means there was some kind of trauma, usually in reference to survival. And actually, money problems can be associated with red. If you hate red and you dislike and you push it away, that could be because, if you think about money, it pays for our food, our electric bill, our gas, and so you might want to love your red, because that is a root, that's safety, survival, security. It's very primal color, but you do want to love your red. So do a lot of healing work around that red color, because that's a beautiful thing. So we have Mars and we have Pallas Athena, both in Leo, and giving us that chutzpah, that Leo performing, getting out there, being in the deal, and just really putting ourselves out there. And it can give us confidence now. If we're already a little bodacious and a little power hungry and a little over the top, this could push us over. That could be too much, so we might have to kind of tone it back and reel it back a little bit. Now, I said there's two big planets that were on the move. So like I said, on Saturday, May 20th, Mars went into Leo, but yesterday on Sunday, May 21st, we started Gemini season. Hey, any Geminis on the broadcast tonight? Andrea said, like when BZ is in the red. Oh, yes. Yeah, exactly. Jean said business is in the red. Yeah. Jean said nailed the head on that one. Thank you. You're welcome, girl. Glad to help. Danielle said, woohoo. So Gemini in the house. Happy pre-birthday to all of the wonderful Geminis out there. Andrea, Gemini moon. Yes, if you have a Gemini in your chart, this is your time, even if you're not sun in Gemini. If you have a moon in Gemini, Gemini rising, Gemini Venus, Gemini Mars, you're going to be feeling this because the sun, if you think about the reason why we celebrate every single time there's a new season, and it back, years ago, we just said the sun was in Gemini. We didn't call it Gemini season. But we're going to celebrate Gemini season because it's a big, huge deal. If you think of the sun, solar power, baby, we're going to power up this place. And whenever the sun is in any part of your astrological chart, which it's in everybody has Gemini somewhere, just depends on where, what house is being affected, okay? And so think of it as solar power. You're suddenly powering up that house. That's why it's a big celebration, because not only are you going to get your solar return, which is your birthday if you're a Gemini, that's what we call solar return. Sun would be on sun then. That's what that's called if it's your birthday. Hello. So happy birthday to all the Geminis out there. But also, let's say you have some other planet there. You have, Mercury there, Mars there, whatever, moon. Then you get, the sun is going to connect to those planets too. And if you have nothing there, if it's a big old Zippo and it's an empty part of your chart, it doesn't matter because it's powering up that house that it's going through. So it doesn't matter what the deal is. Gemini, sun in Gemini is started. And so it is going to be until June 21st. Okay, so May 21st to June 21st is Gemini season. A lot of famous Geminis: Angelina Jolie, Kanye West, Natalie Portman. Trying to think of some other people, Marilyn Monroe. There's a lot of famous Geminis out there. And so that's going on. Donald Trump, also Gemini. There's a lot of famous Geminis out there. And so basically what Gemini season is all about is we're multitasking. We are in this sector now, or the time period right now, where it's a mutable sign. Mutable signs mean that it's a transitional season in our, Northern America sort of place. We just left Taurus, which was the heart of spring. That was the middle of springtime. Now we're getting into that transition between spring and summer. And so that's what all the mutable signs are about. It's the go with the flow. And I always use the example of a palm tree in a hurricane, right? That's mutable, okay? Like the palm tree can bend over and then it snaps right back and it's totally fine. Okay, so the mutables are very good at that. Go with the flow, transition, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And especially because Gemini is one of the two dualistic signs. So Gemini, the twins, is a dualistic sign, meaning there's twins are two, right? The other dualistic sign is Pisces. And if you look at the swimming fish, there's always two fish swimming at different angles and directions. So those are both dualistic signs, meaning it's a little more complicated with the dualistic signs. I mean, you might want chocolate and vanilla, and how about chocolate and vanilla, maybe chocolate and vanilla, and then they get to the ice cream stand, they're like, Neapolitan, please, so that tends to happen with the dualistic signs. There can be a lot of changeability going with the flow. Now, Gemini is also an air sign, which is very intellectual and very cerebral. So a lot of Geminis are very in their head, love to think, love to talk, love to joke around, very witty, bantering, liking to network, to multitask. A lot of Geminis are extroverted unless there's some introverted stuff in your own personal chart. But typically, Geminis like to be very social creatures and they like to kind of, do their thing. And so this is the time to network, to get out there, to socialize, to be active, active in your community even. All that stuff is Gemini. Somebody said Wendy said Gemini in the third house. Yes. Oh, you also have Mars in the third house too. So you're getting some solar power in your third house. Third house is actually Gemini's natural area in a chart. In everybody's chart, third house is Gemini's domain. So that is the area that we look to for all of this networking and socializing and gossiping and talking and texting and all the stuff that we do. Because doesn't that sound like Mercury? Well, that's because Gemini is powered by Mercury. Okay, so I always say each and every sign, it's kind of like a car. So if you're driving a car and then the engine is the planet. So like I just said with Mars, with Leo, we were talking about Leo. Leo is powered by the sun. And so Gemini is powered by Mercury. So we are in a mercurial time of year. This is the time of year to talk. And it's interesting because, you always look at sort of like what is going on in Gemini season. Well, it's Memorial Day weekend in the United States. It's usually Father's Day happening during Gemini season. It is Juneteenth. Gemini season is another. But the biggest thing that I think, and those are big things, but one of the bigger things that I think that we do in the United States especially is people graduate. They graduate from high school, they graduate from college, they graduate from elementary school, whatever it is. It's graduation. It's all the stuff with that, all the things that sort of come with graduation time. And a lot of times parents are busy picking up the kids and emptying out the college dorm rooms and going on, trips, and we start planning trips and vacations. It's a busy time of year, actually, especially for parents. It tends to be a very busy time of year, or even if they're focused on travel or whatever it is, running around for parties and events and just different things. A lot of people are very busy with graduation time during this time of year. So that also goes on as well. And we get into preparation mode around that and everything else. By the way, if you guys have anybody special in your life that's a young adult, like graduating from high school or graduating from college, an astrological reading is very, very good for them. In fact, there was a local college up here in Vermont that used to hire me to come in and do readings for the young adults that were going there or even graduating there. That was their present and gift to them, was me, which was so sweet and awesome for over a decade until unfortunately COVID hit. I would go to college and I would do the senior boat cruise and I would do all kinds of things with the seniors, and they found it to be hugely helpful because it was like, I just got out of school. What do I do with my life? And so that was something that was cool. Hey, Tara, welcome, Leo from Vermont. I see we're talking about Leos tonight. And so that happened too. We are in Gemini season now. I always talk about one of my favorite stones for Gemini is Howlite. You guys know, you've probably seen this Howlite a million times on this broadcast. I love Howlite. This is dyed, okay? It usually is white with black. Kind of looks like marble naturally, which I think is beautiful in itself. So but I like this dyed one because it also shows you the throat chakra. See, we were just talking about colors. The color of the throat chakra, communicating, which is Gemini's forte, is this beautiful sort of blue color. So like turquoise or whatever, all this lovely blue is very good for the throat chakra. Chrysocolla, blue lace agate, this dyed howlite, any kind of thing. If you have trouble communicating and if you have trouble speaking from the heart or expressing yourself in any way, this is wonderful for that. But when I almost put it back, but one of the biggest things, like I just said, there's a lot of. Do you hear how when I'm describing Gemini, there's a lot of scatteredness here? The energy can be a little out there, like ADD or ADHD, it can be a little ungrounded, a little scattered. There's a lot to do, like I said, and Gemini is an air sign and can get ungrounded very quickly. So if we're looking to pull in all of our energies and kind of gather up our energies because we've been out all over the place, this is a wonderful stone to do that, to help us to ground and to heal. I actually keep this thing right next to me by my desk. I have a lot of planets in my third house myself, and I communicate for a living, like I'm talking now, and I like to have this to help me to kind of pull my energies in, to ground myself and to prevent that scatteredness, and that can be a very good stone for that. So, and the good news is Howlite is actually not one of the most popular stones, and it's fairly inexpensive. So if you're looking for a stone that's fairly inexpensive to add to your collection, Howlite is amazing, and that's for Gemini season. So yeah, so like I said, we had those two big things on the move. We had Mars go into Leo, we had the Sun go into Gemini. We started Gemini season. We're starting sort of slowly to come out of Taurus season. God, we still have a ton of planets in Taurus though. So we're kind of getting out of that. Now we're going to be shifting gears and getting into Gemini season. Now, when it comes to this week, when we're looking at other planetary things, the only other sort of bigger thing this week is we do have coming up, we have the second chance new moon happening. Remember what I said, every single week, every broadcast, when I'm doing my weekly broadcast with you guys, every single week, I'm making an announcement that there's a big lunar thing. And that's because there's 4 lunar cycles, so they happen once a week, okay? And so it's either new moon, full moon, or the 2 in between ones. And that's what's happening this week, is it's what I call the second chance new moon. So this is called the second quarter lunar cycle. Some people call it the first quarter lunar cycle. But really, if you look at the sky, it's a half a moon in the sky. And that's going to be happening this Saturday on May 27th, okay? And so that's going to be 6 degrees Virgo. So, oh, is that correct? Let me just make sure. Yes. Yeah, 6 degrees Virgo. And so it's going to be, the sun is in the astrological sign of Gemini, like I said, and then we have the moon going to be in Virgo. Now, I just said that the ruler of Gemini is actually Mercury. Well, the ruler of Virgo is also Mercury. So Mercury shares 2 signs, or I should say 2 signs share Mercury. And so these two are very mercurial. So when we get close to like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we're having like almost like a double mercurial sort of energy right there, where the sun is going to be in Gemini, moon is going to be in Virgo. Both are powered up, but they're very different astrological signs. So that's kind of an interesting thing. They express their mercurial energy differently. Virgo is all about the details. And like I just said, Gemini can get ungrounded and a little scattered and not as great with the details, unless if you have both in your chart. I have several friends that have that Gemini Virgo combination, and they have both. So they're actually good at the details. But for those of us who are mere mortals that don't have both of these signs in our chart, Gemini is not as good at all the details and the fine print and all that. And that's Virgo's sort of thing. Both of them need a lot of grounding. So that's happening on Saturday, May 27th. And the peak or the height of it is 11:22 p.m. Eastern time, or a.m. Eastern time. So earlier than that if you're out on the West Coast. So 11:22 in the morning on the East Coast, and 3 hours earlier than that on the West Coast. Or if you're Central Time or Mountain Time or whatever, just minus it, okay, from 11:22 a.m. And that's the peak or the height of it. So I call that the second chance new moon because we're continuing the work that we started during the new moon. The new moon, we planted new seeds. We hopefully wrote out our new moon manifestation list. Now, if you missed that, if you missed the list, and if you didn't write your list, okay, last week, this is now the time you can write a list, okay? Look, you can write a list whenever you want, okay? I don't want to say there's like a wrong and a right, okay? But it's sort of like you're using the energy to sort of push your sort of your work, okay, along. You're planting the seeds with the cycles. So if you plant the seeds, let's say in the winter, it's going to be harder to get those seeds to grow, right? Unless you have a greenhouse and a lot of heating and extra lights and all those things. So if you plant seeds with the lunar cycles, and that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about letting these have natural, we're going with the natural cycle and the natural flow of things. So you want to write out your new moon manifestation list. If you forgot to write it during the actual new moon, which was last week on May 19th, now you can write it, okay, again. And then you can just put it under your pillow, like I said, like you do with the new moon manifestation. It's all the same. And then you're going to burn or destroy your list on the full moon. That's when we release and we let go, and that's on June 3rd. Okay, so but you don't want to do it before that. So we're still technically between the new and the full moon. So we're bringing in new things. So the new moon, okay, is all about new things, bringing new things into your life, especially now that Mercury retrograde is over. Okay, this is go time. Remember, we have Mars, we have Pallas Athena. The only other planet right now that's retrograde, other than some of the asteroids or whatever, I'm talking about major planets, is Pluto. So the big planets have not yet started, all summertime long. The big planets start going retrograde. Saturn's going to go retrograde. Jupiter will go retrograde. Neptune, all the big planets will go retrograde. So we still have a bit of time where there's minimal retrogradeness going on, even though we're in the shadow period, of Mercury retrograde. So this is a good thing. So should we write our manifestation list? Yeah, we should write our manifestation list on, and this, by the way, is going to be on Saturday, May 27th. Saturday is better time for you to write it. Perfect. You can write it. You don't have to write it again. You don't have to do it twice. I'm just talking for people who missed the new moon. If you wrote it already, just leave it under your pillow. Let it do its magic. Just let it sit and hang out and do its thing. The angels are listening, and they got your back and all that good stuff. Okay. Now remember what I always say, new moon, the farmer planted all the seeds. Okay. The second chance new moon, the in-between between the new moon and the full moon, this is time to check the progress, okay? Like, does it need more water? Are the little shoots starting to come up? Does it need fertilizer? Does it need more light? So that's why the second chance new moon and even the second chance full moon are considered to be a time of like a little bit of a bump in the road, just because it's like, oh God, maybe it does need more fertilizer or whatever. So it's like, it's considered a time of sort of reevaluating. And so now we're reevaluating, like, what's the growth here and how's it doing? And that's basically why I call it the second chance new moon, because it's a time where we can come in and go, oh God, I didn't even write my list. Okay, that's the first problem. So now I got to write it out, right? So that's basically what the second chance new moon is all about, is sort of reevaluating your life and all that. There's a lot of energy because even the day before that, on Friday, May 26th, Venus is going to form a sextile with Uranus. And so that's kind of an interesting kind of energy too. Whenever Uranus and sort of Mercury and sort of, Gemini, Virgo, all this stuff, there's a lot of like a little bit of a nervous / excited energy that's kind of coming around. And I think that's a good way of sort of looking at it. It's not big major sort of like, oh God, this is like major anxiety, but it's more of like, is it nerves? Is it excitement? There's a little butterfly. I'm not really sure. There's like kind of that thing going on around Friday and Saturday at the end of the week. So it could be good. It could be exciting. Now, if you already default into anxiety, then it would for sure probably manifest in that way. But if you're somebody who's like kind of chill and laid back, you might just make it feel like, oh, it's a little, interesting and exciting. That, by the way, is a fun time to have flirtation. There's a little flirtatious, lovey kind of stuff going on. It's not permanent. It's not like super major commitment stuff, but it's more of like having fun, a little texting, a little sliding into the DMs, a little like, hi, my name's so-and-so, what's your name? It's a little bit of that type of energy, which could be fun and good. And this is good for writing proposals and sort of, looking at contracts. Like, there's some good energy here for doing some of that. Now, the next day on Sunday, when we talk about, see, I'm like, here we go. On Sunday, on the 28th, on May 28th, is the sun is going to form a square with Saturn, and that can be a little bit of a Debbie Downer. So where Thursday, Friday, Saturday could be really kind of sort of fun, flirty, chatty, kidding around, little jokey. Then we get into clunk on Sunday. And so that's going to be 6:46 a.m. Eastern time on Sunday morning. And we'll feel that even on Saturday night. So after we get through that new moon, the second chance new moon, it's kind of like a clunk, and sometimes we can feel lonely and we can feel a little forsaken and I don't know, just bummed out. When Saturn's around, it's like a time where people feel a little down, lonely, or depressed. Don't let it get to you. I mean, it's temporary, for sure. It's a temporary situation. Maybe we were trying to flirt and the person was just like, is that all today? Like, they weren't very receptive and maybe you felt weird about it or something. Don't let it get you down. I always say flirting is practicing. You have to practice your flirt. You got to get your flirt on. You got to practice your flirt. Even if the person is not very like good, maybe they're terrible at flirting. Maybe their idea of flirting is, hi, I like bread, like maybe it's not very good. Maybe they're not very good at it. So don't take it personally. That's what this Saturn thing can do, can get into our head and go, I suck, and I didn't do the right thing, and maybe I said something dumb. That can be a Saturn thing. Don't let it get to you. Wendy said tickle, tickle, slap. That's really funny. Tara and Noel are laughing. Yeah, exactly. So this, don't let that Sunday thing. And again, that's overnight, Saturday into Sunday. We could get a little into our head. Don't let that happen. Cancel clear on that. Don't let that happen. Okay. So I am getting my cards because, as you know, I like to pull a card for the week. And also, if you guys have any questions, I'm not going to be on too long because I do want to get back to my little pug bear. But yes, so we have that cardinal square, or sorry, fixed T-square going on between Pluto and Jupiter and what was the other one? Mars. Pluto, Jupiter, Mars. We have that going on behind the scenes. We also have the sun that just moved into Gemini season. So Gemini season just started. We have all that extra energy, a lot of energy in the Leo sector of our charts for sure. And so if that's something that's going on as well. And yeah, and then the end of the week, we kind of wrap up with some silliness and some little humor and some funness. But then it kind of ends with a clunk with that Saturn thing on Sunday. We're going to just tell Saturn to go take a hike. Because Saturn can be that way. I don't know what it is. Oh, I'm sorry. Tara said, what do we do with people that refuse to communicate during this time? You have an ongoing issue. So Tara, I'm going to pull a quick card for you. Oh, wow. Okay. Tara, these fell out. So I didn't even pull them. They fell out, but I always honor these when they pull out. So we have two really good cards here. We have confidence, we have generosity. Confidence card is actually Archangel Michael. Okay, so Michael, as you know, Archangel Michael is the protector. He's one of the archangels with the sword, and he protects, like he or she, I mean, there's not really supposed to be like a sexual kind of thing, male or female with the archangels, but it is said Archangel Michael is a male and that he's a warrior and he's like, will protect you. And it's also saying, this is Saint Nick, which is generosity. I kind of feel like with these cards, sometimes you are generous and you give and give it, but you overgive too sometimes. And sometimes you give to people who don't really deserve it. And I'm going to say this, and I say this with lots and lots of love from my heart, and wrapped in a pink heart bubble and lots of affection. Sometimes I think you give to like have people like you just a little bit. So I don't want you to be stingy. That's not the advice here. I would never say, hey, be stingy. I would say, know that, like do something once or twice for somebody, but don't do it 10 or 20 times. Like, I feel like when you give, like sometimes you give so much and that's your thing. And then you overgive and you're like, wait a minute, the person's not like, but you're still giving to them. And I feel like you got to learn how to stop or slow down. I think you said earlier, you're a Leo. I always tell Leos in my private sessions, I always say, if you think you need to do more, stop. Because that usually means you're over giving. Remember when I was talking about Leo can be very generous, like one of the generous signs. So you want to like kind of not do that, and also have confidence in yourself to give to the right people. So I never advise giving to get. Like that's kind of bad advice, to give to get. Like I gave you a present, so I'm expecting you to give me a present back. I'm not saying that, but kind of watch, is there a general reciprocity between you and the other person? If there's a general reciprocity, then yes, continue to give. But if the other person's taking with their hand out constantly, and you're just giving and giving and giving, because maybe you think you can move the needle, or maybe you think, well, then you get takers. And I feel like you have like some takers around you that like are constantly kind of, you know, they feel like ticks to me, like a parasite, those ticks that get on dogs. That's what it feels like. So I feel like you have to fire like a good 5 people. I'm sorry to say that, but it's just like, let's just face it. I just kind of feel like for some reason that's like kind of the feeling. So you want to have people who are there for you, and you know, and there's times sometimes, right? Like we're there for somebody, and then a period of time goes by, and then they're there for us. But there has to be like a generalized, just like a give and a take and a reciprocity, and feeling like as if it's you know, reciprocal. I hope that helps. Hey Corbin, oh my goodness. How are you doing, my old friend? I haven't seen you on this chat for a long time. You know, it was interesting. You fell, and then I fell almost exactly at the same time a couple years ago. I hope you're doing well from that. You're welcome, Tara. You're welcome. All right, somebody else. Oh no, they jump on you. Oh gosh, Tara, that's awful. Yeah, you want to fire those people. Noel. Money card, please. Okay, Noel wants a money card. So let me just see. I don't know if I can manifest a money card, but we'll try to see if we can pull a card for your money. See what the deal is with her financial. What does she need to know? Oh, wow. This is great. You got the Sun card. By the way, that's the card of Leo. Yay. And that's the card of yes. And so if you look, he's really confident. That lion, he doesn't even have to tell you how confident he is. He's just basking and glowing in the sun. So this means that you have to just be confident and be self-assured and approach the situation with confidence. Like if you're doing sales or you're doing any kind of thing, it's approaching it with confidence, approaching it with like just this belief that you can do it. So I hope that helps. I'm going to pull one more card, Noel, for you. Yeah, see, this is interesting. This really makes a lot of sense because this is like, have confidence. You have to believe in yourself. And this is the card of emotions. See how bright and sunny this is and how dark and sort of, this is? Saint Dymphna is the patron saint of those with emotional problems, okay? Like that feel like maybe a little down, a little bit depressed, a little bit anxious. And so this is saying, no. Have confidence, be in the sunlight, be proud. You know, where Dymphna and emotions, this card can mean that like kind of like your internal and your external are not matching here. So it's saying to incorporate, okay, that sunny disposition and that sunniness into your life. It's almost like if like, I'm just going to use this as an example. Let's say you're in sales and like the phone's not ringing. You're like, oh my God, it's the last order. I'm never selling another thing again. It's like your emotions are telling you that it's the end. And this is saying it's not the end. It's be confident, but there's more to come. I actually do feel that some of this is going to kind of like, especially once this T-square that's going on between Taurus and Leo and Aquarius, once that sort of starts to dissipate, I do feel like things are going to start to free up a little bit. And if you guys don't know what I'm talking about and you just joined, you'll have to go back and watch the replay because I did a whole big thing about how this is affecting us financially. I hope that helps. I hope that helps. All right, I'm going to pull one quick card for Sarah, just very quickly. She said there's a lot of problems going on. I was talking about Aquarius is being caught up in some of this energy, Sarah, so you might want to watch again the pre-recorded the broadcast after I post it. When is the square going away? Until June 7th. And it's been active all month. So it's going to be like a month-long thing, this big. See, I told you when these big planetary, but we're in the heart of it right now, Emily. Like we are in the like ground zero heart of it. Okay, so I'm hoping as we start to get into June 1st, June 2nd, June 3rd, it starts to like break apart. Okay, but yeah, June 7th, technically, it's going to be still active. All right, so Sarah. Yeah, everything's jammed up right now, Sarah. That's what's happening. What does she need to know about this energy going on right now? Well, your saving space, I actually think, is your marriage or your partner, your relationship. Or maybe that's a problem. I don't know. St. Catherine. St. Catherine is all about having a marriage, a partnership, but it's having a partnership with somebody who's not toxic. And sometimes that can be a work partner too, like a work husband or a work wife or, you know, somebody that you're literally partners with, or it can be your literal relationship. But this is saying that you need to have a good working relationship, and St. Catherine can help sort of smooth some. You don't have to be Catholic or whatever. You just like, she helps to smooth the edges and smooth the surface and help people to work together a little bit more, because I do feel like that work thing can be toxic sometimes. Yeah, because you got Mars, the god of war, in relation to this work question. There's a lot of, it feels very like, very tumultuous. So this is saying, you know, here's the cool thing, Sarah. I happen to know Sarah is an Aquarius. Sarah, you have the gift, which all Aquarians do, of detachment. Letting go, just kind of. So you guys are a little better at it than some of us other folks, and that's sort of your gift. It's not always good, but it is good in these types of situations where you need to kind of just sort of distance yourself, or just be on the outside looking in, or just detach, or just do something that you can just like kind of cut off and be like, not my circus, not my monkeys, bye, and just sort of like remove yourself from that chaos. I'll use, that's the word, chaos. But you need to focus on having healthy relationships, and this I feel is very important, and a lot of people on this message might even be able to, yes, financials right now are kind of rough, but when we have a partnership that we work with, we want to have healthy relationships with our coworkers, with our bosses, with our spouses. These are all relationships. And when someone comes to me and they're like, I went to this job and I hate this, and I went to this job and I hate this, I went to this job and I hate this. Well, usually that person's typically an entrepreneur that doesn't know that they're an entrepreneur, typically. And then the other piece of that is maybe there's a little piece of ourselves that we have, like from trauma. You know, we talk a lot about, like, I'm just going to use this as a general example. Let's say like we had a parent that was like abusive or something. Then we can carry that trauma and then date people who are like our parent, right? We've always heard that expression, like, you don't want to date someone who's like, you know, like an abusive partner or whatever, abusive parent. But we don't talk about enough is that sometimes we, instead of dating people like that, sometimes what we do is we end up working for people like that. So instead of having that dating relationship that's abusive, we have a work relationship that, you know, and those because remember, we're picking with those lenses. We're picking with those lenses. So I always say clean up those types of partnerships and those types of situations. Clean those up. Because I feel like as if it's something that, and we could all use that advice. I'm just, you know, saying it a general, because remember when I answer these questions, it's for everybody, you know, probably everybody can sort of relate to that. I've even done that, you know, where I've had, people I worked for that I was still picking with that picker, you know, where I was picking, people that were broken. I was picking work relationships that were broken. There's all these different types of relationships that we can have, and we start to pick with those broken lenses. And so it's something that, it just needs to be cleaned up. It doesn't feel broken or bad. It just feels like it needs to be cleaned up, and sometimes we have to do, like I said with Tara, sometimes we have to fire people. We have to fire them. Not like, oh, are they going to like me? No, we're going to fire them, so sometimes we have to do that. So I hope that helps. Yay. So what do we need to know? I'm going to do the general card of the week, and then I'm going to let you guys go. What do we need to know this week? In our broadcast, what do we need to know about all this energy? So we have that big, powerful TSquare going on. We have all this kind of astrological stuff. We just started Gemini season. We just started a new Mars season in Leo. Whew, a lot of energy. So what do we need to know this week to help us to navigate and to go? Oh, so I'm using a different deck here. This is my deck I usually use for readings. I'm going to actually pull another card. It's kind of funny because Corbin said we need the lottery numbers. I have had people text me, hey, what's the winning lottery number? I don't give out those numbers. It's just something I don't do. It's too hard. Too much to focus on. But what do we need to know in general? Okay. All right. This makes a lot of sense because we just started Gemini season. So this card is love and magic. And so look at her. She is bouncing several ideas, multiple projects, many areas of life. See how she's juggling a lot of things here? And so usually this is a time of busyness. And it's interesting because when I think of Gemini, I do think of, like I told you, dualistic, multitasking, the twins. Anybody ever have two kids and like one runs this way and one runs the other way? It's like, oh my God. So there's a lot going on there with a lot of different balls in the air. And we're waiting for all this to settle, and it's not really settling right now. But this is saying, be like a child, the guardian angel card is saying, be open-minded like a child, playful like a child, maybe not naive like a child, but kind of assuming like things are going to work out, and sort of looking at things with a new lens. Even you might have to look at the problem in a new way, or think of it and like bounce it off of a trusted person in your life, kind of like take a fresh set of eyes. This could also, if you have a literal child, or even a pet, that this could be that your children, like I just said, it's graduation season right now, and a lot of young children and young adults are getting ready to move into a new area of life. So children might be a big focus this week, and even your fur babies and pets that you love as a child could be center and attention. But this means we're going to be busy. This is a busy week. So there's a lot going on. And so remember what I said about Howlite. Grounding. Corbin, you're so funny. Well, I hope this helps everybody. Definitely feel free to give me a call. Text me is the best way for an astrological session if you're looking for a private consultation with me about your astrological chart and what's going on in your life. And also, please, I am working on my 1,000 subscribers for YouTube. If you've already subscribed, I love you and thank you so much. And tell a friend, tell two friends, share my videos, because that's really what helps to get the word out there. You guys did amazing last week. I want to say I had so many comments on my YouTube, and you know what that did? It drove up the algorithm. So you guys were amazing. If you want to go over to YouTube and comment, you guys were so amazing last week. So I want to thank you so much. All right, everybody. Remember, lots of grounding, lots of energy. Take care, and I will see you guys next week at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Monday. Oh, wait. Next week's Memorial Day. I'm not going to see you next week. Next Monday night, I'm going to post a pre-recorded for YouTube, because even your trusted astrologer needs to have vacation and time off. So I'm going to actually do, not next Monday. I'm going to do the following Monday, 8 p.m. live, but I will not be live next Monday night. All right, everybody. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Good night. Namaste.